This is like going to school and taking that first test and you fail that first test. That doesn't mean you're going to get a failing grade for the year.
Pop, what's going on, man? Did something happen today?
Oh, man.
Not on.
Tough
Not
start.
how you wanted to start the year.
Honeymoon is over.
Oh, yeah. Honeymoon is over.
Just ended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long time ago. Tough start. Not how you wanted to start the season. You know, frankly, it just wasn't a competitive game, unfortunately. I mean, they had some fight, they had some fire, but for a long part of it, it was a loss. Guys, obviously, we're here for your first post-game podcast. Apologies for a little lack of energy, but if you watch that game, you're probably feeling about the same way.
Oh, you're going to have some energy. I can feel it coming.
Yeah. It was a 37-20 loss to Tampa Bay. It was 16-7 at the halftime. Baker Mayfield looked incredible. I mean, he's 24 for 30, 289, 4 touchdowns. Jaden Daniels' debut was all right, I'd say. There was some good, there was some bad. It was 17 for 24, 184 yards, 93.1 passer rating, 16 rushes for 88 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns on the ground as well, which were kind of both like goal line scores, like on some read option stuff. We'll talk more about Daniels. We're probably going to spend most of the pod talking about Daniels, but 16 rushes for 88 yards gives me a little bit of pause. But Pop, give me your quick reactions to the game. Where are you at? How are you feeling?
You know, it was disappointing for sure. You thought it'd be more competitive. I think time's going to tell. I think the reality is that you're up against a playoff team that is in year 2 after the playoffs. They've got the same team coming back. Like you said, Baker just looked in the zone. He looked amazing. I was super impressed by Tampa Bay, and I think sometimes, you know, the other team comes out and really beats you and plays super well. We just weren't ready to go up against an opponent like that yet. And I think when you turn over the roster as much as we've turned it over, you have to be somewhat realistic. This is a rebuild. Now, I know they call it a recalibration, and maybe some of that got our hopes up. I don't think by any means am I, giving up on the rest of the year. I mean, I got friends texting saying, well, I guess our Sundays are free the rest of the year. I mean, I'm not in that mode at all. It's game 1. We got the Giants coming in next week. They looked bad as we did.
Speaking of teams that got the doors blown off them.
So, and I think that we'll get into some of the I don't want to, go through the whole thing right now. It's disappointing. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The defense was just awful. And that was probably the most disappointing thing. I definitely expected a better performance out of the defense. I called the loss. I even took, Tampa plus 3.5. I thought realistically they were just, we just weren't at that point of the season where we were ready to beat a team like that. I think potentially that's a really good football team down there. We'll see.
Yeah, time will tell. Yeah. I do think that's possible. I think in general, I think the fan base kind of underestimated Tampa a little bit and where they're at and what's there going into this week. I certainly did. And as I'm watching them, I'm going, this is a really good football team.
It's a really good football team.
And it's humbling.
We're obviously not yet.
No. We're a lot of things, and a really good football team is not one of them. A half-decent football team is not one of them right now. This is a bad football team at this moment in time. And I think
after week 1, yes.
That defense is terrible. And that, a couple of things that I have a little bit of pause about. And now you did see they went away from 13. We'll talk about him. They went away from 13, and Noah I kind of got the majority of the snaps where 13 was getting them later on. By about the first half, they went away from him after he was just a liability. a lot of missed opportunities and the pressures. I mean, they were getting good pressure and then just not converting on sacks. I mean, Baker's like bouncing off of guys as if he's Josh Allen. Baker's not a big dude. Baker's like, you got to bring that guy down. He's not big. He's not fast. He's not particularly elusive, not at this point in his career.
It looked pretty elusive today.
Yeah. Lack of discipline on the pass rush. Stop me if you've heard that before. We get pressure, but the secondary can't hold up on the back end. Stop me if you've heard that before. Linebackers were good. You haven't heard that one before. Linebackers were good. The interior of the defensive line was good. Payne got his name called a couple times. Allen had a couple pretty freakish tackles, just good plays. Luvu looked good. Jamin Davis had a couple nice plays. But the bottom line is with this team, the bad is so bad, we can't even win in spite of it right now.
I think I honestly think it's a mistake to make statements like the defense is bad. I mean, they were terrible today.
Yeah.
And I think that this is a great opportunity, obviously, for the coaching staff to coach. You don't, unfortunately, the way things work, you don't really play preseason games. This is your really first exposure. You're on the road. You're playing a really good football team. At least they looked really good against us. I think these broad sweeping statements to say that, this is really, and this is just my opinion. You and the rest, and I've heard a lot of it from the fan base today, have the right to just write off. And I'm not saying you're doing this, but write off the season.
I'm not doing
say
that.
The coachings are terrible. Say the defense is terrible. Say this is terrible. Say that is terrible. It's too soon. It just is. We got to let this thing play out. Ron Rivera and Dan Snyder, and maybe I should just put it more on Dan, destroyed this football team. We were down to the studs. And what we all got, the offseason is always happy. We finally got to see a real GM, and we hired a new coach, and you hear the press conferences and you see the practices, and you're obviously excited about Jaden Daniels. I mean, but we didn't know what we had as a football team. And this is, this is like going to school and taking that first test and you fail that first test. That doesn't mean you're going to get a failing grade for the year, right? It just means that, whoa, I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't taking this teacher seriously enough. And maybe they, not to say they didn't do everything they could to get as prepared as they could, but, you're going to need to make adjustments from this. You're going to need to get the right mix of players on the field. Some of the problems that we expected, secondary, offensive line protection, are definitely there. Tackling at times. But it's one game. Yeah. It's one game. And I'm going to come back ready next week. I'm going to come back confident next week that we can bounce back. And, certainly, this doesn't bode well when you go up against the best teams in the league. But we also saw some best teams in the league. I mean, Cincinnati got me knocked out of my survivor pool in week 1. You don't know what you got till you put the pads on and you're playing ball. And I think that, I'm not going to say this was a good thing by any stretch, but if you wanted a wake-up call, you got one, and these coaches are going to have to really start earning their paychecks now and to get this team ready. And there's some positives, man. I really liked the touchdown drive in the first half, to get that score that we got, the way that we ran the ball in the red zone was fantastic. So, to see those guys, and that's when it was still a competitive ball game, to see those guys get on their blocks, create some openings. B-Rob looked fantastic. I thought Jaden Daniels played a heck of a game. You had a great quote. I'll let you make it about Jaden Daniels, but I thought overall there was nothing to be discouraged about watching him. And if you've potentially got your quarterback for the future, that's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, I think if you've got, and I think this is a good kind of segue into the Jaden Daniels combo, but I think if you've got any of the quarterbacks we've seen at the helm in the last, let's say, 4 or 5 years, since Kirk, hell, since Alex, whatever you want to say, any of those quarterbacks at the helm today, I mean, I think this is like a 48-3 beatdown.
How many sacks do they take, right?
Yeah. The only thing that saved us today was Jaden having to play hero ball. And that's the next place that I want to go to. And and that's the problem. This defense is so bad and offensively, or played so bad today. You don't want me to say you don't want to make big.
You can say whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. Just to be clear, I'm not editing you.
So
if you think they're bad, say it. That's cool.
Let me preface this statement. It's week 1. We're going to overreact. We have a small sample size to go off of, right?
Of course.
Based off of what we've seen today, this defense and this offensive line are so poor. Jaden Daniels is going to have to stand on his head for us to be able to win 7 games. So I don't like that. That makes me nervous. There has to be a better game plan of getting the ball out of Jaden's hands faster, helping out on the offensive line. You saw Eckler miss a couple chip blocks that ended up getting Jaden in trouble. You saw Jaden with the ball for a little bit too long. You saw a lot of empty sets, which I don't like, especially when you have good pass blocking running backs. Eckler is a good pass blocker most of the time. You have these empty sets that I don't particularly love. I wanted to see more 12 personnel. I wanted to see more jumbo packages. I wanted to see more running of the football. Not just, it's a lot of that, like, which just, I know drives you crazy, drives me crazy. Run 1st and 10, get 2 yards, and then you throw for 2 downs every time. And it's like, run a draw on 2nd and 8, call a screenplay on 1st down, and then run a draw on 2nd and 4. Why did it take us 2 quarters to get to a Terry McLaurin screen pass when he literally hadn't touched the ball yet and only got his name called once on a deep shot that Jaden overthrew him for? So, I mean, these Terry McLaurin stat lines are driving me up a wall. 2 for 4 for what? 14 yards, 24 yards. I mean, a forgettable number. It's not even, we don't even bother putting it on the notes at the end of the day because it's completely insignificant. That can't happen. We're paying this guy $70 million. 2
catches for 17 yards, 4 targets.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell is that? That's a Jahan Dotson stat line, and we just rushed him out of town. There has to be a game plan for this guy. There has to be a game plan to get this guy the football. He's the best player on the field. He's been the best player on the field for the last 4 years. And all of a sudden, in the last 18 months, everybody's forgotten that he's the best player that this football team has had since Kirk Cousins, probably. I don't understand what's going on there. That drives me crazy. But Jaden, let's take the positive spin on it. Jaden showed incredible guts, stepped up when he had the opportunity to. Pretty accurate in terms of the passing. I was happy with where the passing was getting done. A lot of good willingness to check the ball down. He's electric with his legs, making guys miss. A lot of times you see, he could go down there, gets an extra few yards, and then he goes down. You didn't see him taking too crazy of a hits. Winfield took the helmet-to-helmet shot, which I didn't like, and then the helmet pops off, which doesn't look great, but it wasn't a bad hit that caused the helmet to come off. Maybe just like a fitting issue we need to resolve.
Yeah, they need to get that helmet issue sorted out.
For the sake of his life.
They need to get that out. I mean, that is an early kick-outs of the game. Can we keep Jaden Daniels' helmet on if he gets normal contact on the helmet? I mean, the equipment guy, you get a kick-outs today.
Look, I mean, Jaden's a handsome guy. The hair looked good. The headband looks nice, but I don't want to see his face during the football game. I want to see him at the press conference. I don't want to see the helmet there. Oh, it stresses me out. But overall, let's see. I mean, we're going to just have to see next week, but this just keeps jumping out to me. 8 total catches by wide receivers.
Yeah.
Luke
and a lot of that came in the second half, and you want to call it garbage time.
On that last scoring drive where the Bucs are just playing soft and letting you run the clock.
I don't know what it was at halftime, but there weren't many catches by receivers at halftime.
Yeah. Zacchaeus had a couple drops. This receiver room is rough. That doesn't help. De'Ami Brown didn't even get a target.
Looked okay in spots. I mean, it's still kind of a bit of a wait and see, but he looked all right.
if McCaffrey's your fourth receiver and does what he did today, you go, hey, that McCaffrey kid might, but my
Can't
God,
judge it like that.
it's too early. Like, there's not.
You can't judge it like that. I mean,
you can't put him in that position.
I don't, it'd be interesting if to hear some of the evaluation this week of Jaden's game, because there were some long developing plays that he ended up taking off and running.
Mm-hmm.
That you wonder, was there really nothing there, or did he just not see it right? That'll be interesting. But the passing game, you'd have to say, was not very good. Whether you want to put on Jaden, put on protection, put it on the receivers not getting separation, I don't know. I mean, he had an opportunity early in the second half to Terry. I mean, it's a long ball. I'm not going to kill him for overthrowing Terry there.
Happens.
Terry had some nice separation on that play.
Yeah.
He blew by the kid. I mean, it's, Jaden Daniels was far from the problem today.
Far from the problem.
Like you said, he kept us in the game. And it could have been a lot worse. I mean, it had been Sam Howell or one of the other guys. It probably would have been a lot worse, because the sacks we would have just took would have been terrible. I mean, like I said, it was definitely disappointing to see the defense play like they did.
Yeah,
I did like the running game. I would say, if I have to,
sure.
What did you like? We definitely started breaking down. We seemed pretty stout against the run.
Yeah.
Just Baker shredded us, man. I mean, he just shredded us. He was we couldn't get him down. You thought you had the pressure on and he would just make a nice throw. He was on point. And I'm not the biggest Baker Mayfield fan, but yeah, I wonder how much of this was just also to do with Tampa making plays, right? I feel like they really made plays. And I mean, I haven't chimed in on Forbes. I don't know. Every sample we've seen of him has not been good. And I think we all like the kid as a person and want to see him do well. It's not personal, but it's just, and even Sandstrom didn't look good. I mean, none of the guys played well in the secondary. I mean, we were picking on Emmanuel, but St. Juice got torched. Sandstrom got torched.
If you want to have Chin out there as a box safety, fine. But Chin over the top is rough. That was rough. There was a lot. I mean, Quan Martin did not look good. There was just a lot of this, off coverage, this kind of off coverage, single man without much safety help, and then miscommunication on the zone matching. I don't know what was going on. I'd have to watch the all 22s, which I'm not going to. I'm going to sit here and talk on my podcast instead. But it was rough, man. That secondary looked terrible. But I think to just put a button on it, at the end of the day, asking your rookie quarterback to score more than 37 points in his debut in order for you to win, while your kicker can't make a field goal.
We didn't even bring up the kicking game.
Your defense can't get off the field on third down. Not a recipe for a win. It's just not.
Look, there was no. That's a great point. There was no winning this game. We got dominated, but missing kicks doesn't help. And at least you feel like you could be down by less than a touchdown than needing two scores. I don't know. I mean, kickers miss. One of them was a 56-yarder. He tried to miss an extra point. Looked pretty shaky. But, at some point you got to stick with a kid, and we'll see what happens there. But, this wasn't on any one player. It was a full domination for sure. I think in my final thoughts, and it's probably repetitive, is that, like I said, honeymoon's over.
Yep.
The coach has got to coach up. I do think that, you can. I don't think it was a great game plan by offensive or defensive coaches. Having said that, I just don't think they really know what they had until they went against, a live opponent and a real opponent and a real quality opponent.
Yeah.
And now's their opportunity, if I'm going to put a silver lining on this, is to look at what happened. You're right. We need to get the ball to Terry more. We need to get guys more involved in the offense. We got to get the receivers more involved just in general, right? But I liked what I saw with the running game. I really did. And I think the defensive line is pretty good, right? And I don't know how you patch that secondary up. I'm not sure what you do there. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. But I also think that we're going to have to wait and see how good this Tampa Bay team is through the course of this year. That might be part of it too, that we just ran into a really, really good team at home.
Yeah, and I mean, look.
And maybe that's loser talk, but we're in a rebuild. I mean,
yeah,
we're in a rebuild. That's what it is. They can call it whatever else they want. Now, maybe this rebuild starts to look better and better and better through the course of the year. I certainly hope so, right? And we said this team hopefully will get better through the course of the year. But this was a reality check.
Yeah, I mean, some of the teams that we've comped this team to, the Lions from a couple years ago, the Jaguars from a couple years ago, they sucked at the beginning of the year. They were bad. Yeah. So maybe it's the case here. There's some evaluating that needs to get done. You got some guys that are injured that come back. You got some guys that need to be moved around from different positions. Maybe some guys get hurt. Other
Johnny
guys
didn't look good in warm-ups, apparently.
Yeah, that's helpful. Hopefully will be helpful next week. Noah I thought looked pretty good once he came in for Forbes. So maybe that's a silver lining. Tariq Castro Fields on the P squad. Maybe he comes back, does something for you. I don't know. I'm with you. I think the secondary is I'm matching the panic button on that. But
if you're going to hit the panic button on one position group, I think it's hard to not argue against that one. Yeah.
Brandon Coleman looked decent. Brandon Coleman looked all right. A couple good plays from Coleman. Lucas, not so much. I think you see enough from Coleman kind of in the same way that you do with Jaden Daniels, where you go, okay, we can iron some of this stuff out and we might have a player.
I mean, honestly, and that's what's so disappointing, and I will end it here. For this section. So we
boys are fired up here.
Honestly, I would say, the offense, you see potential there, mainly because of Jaden Daniels, but you saw the ability, B-Rob looked good, Eckler looked good, Terry's going to be there, Zach Ertz had some nice catches. I think the offense is going to be okay. Yeah, that defense, we have a defensive coach, so let's hope they can patch some of the holes there. But you saw some hope from the offense, I think anyway,
I'm with you. I think offense, you see market improvement. You could see where this thing is going. Defense, yeah. Anyways, let's move on.
Stand up for a second. That's sexy. The people need to see that, just to put a little silver lining on this thing. So the boy was representing today.
Did what he could. I had my lady out here in a Terry McLaurin jersey, and I had my dog in a Commanders jersey, and that got us where it got us. Anyways,
representing in LA.
Yep, I was walking outside and everything, but we'll see where we're at next week. We'll talk more about that in the pregame. But what do you say we get to the awards, Pop?
Let's do it.
This
will be quick, I think.
Yeah. I think we can breeze through these next couple segments here. So boy needs to get to some Sunday Night Football. Anyways, awards. Jaden Daniels going to get the Sauce Award today. Like we both said, pretty much the only thing that saved us from complete disaster today.
I was trying to give it to Brian Robinson just to not give it to Jaden Daniels in such a bad loss, but it's got to be Jaden Daniels. He was by far the best player on the field for us.
It's
today.
the first week of the season. If we lose a game like this in week 12, we're probably not giving out awards, right? But it's the first week of the season. We got to stick to the format.
There's going to be people that take shots at him, and that's fine. But look, who was the best player on the field for the Commanders today?
Who was the best rookie?
Hit me in the comments. To me, it's not even close. It was Jaden Daniels. And it was his first game, not getting a whole lot of help from the other, what is it, 21 on the field between offense and defense. So
well, 10 on the field with him, but yeah.
But I'm saying, the defense when they were on wasn't helping them. So, I think for our first game out, considering the circumstances, it's hard not to like what you saw there, in my opinion, anyway.
With you there. Totally agree there. I think overall, Jaden Daniels had the best rookie debut of the weekend. Unfortunately, our defense didn't score 14 points for him to win the game. I don't know how much of that Chicago-Tennessee game you caught, but Williams did not look well. Anyways, let's keep moving. First game. But I'd prefer to see what I saw out of Daniels than that. Anyways,
I'll take that. Not going to argue
the sauce award there. Helmet stickers. We're going to give Brian Robinson one. Inefficient to start, but had some really good runs when it counted. Had some good catches when it counted. Yeah, the 3 catches for 59 yards is awesome. I'm really glad I picked him up on my fantasy team. I think he's going to be a wagon for me this year. Touchdown there. Austin Eckler had 62 total yards. Pop wants to shout out the running back room, so let's do it. I'm with you there. I think it was decent.
You got anybody else?
No.
Yeah.
No, I got nobody else. Zach Ertz maybe had some good catches, but nothing else other than that. I'm good to move on. Kick-Hots, defense, coaching, honorable mention to the kicking game. I'm going to make this quick. I've talked enough about the defense. I'm going to make this quick point about the coaching that I said to you in the pregame. That was the one thing that really miffed me today. We were promised a better coached, better prepared football team. I don't know if I saw that today. It's week 1. There's a lot to work with. I didn't see that today. I think I'm still confident I will see that over the course of 17 games. I did not see that today. This is a big accountability program. I didn't see it today.
How can you argue with that?
You can't, unfortunately.
It's just, again, I think you look at the level of turnover on this roster and the disaster of a situation that these guys walked into.
Yeah.
To expect it to look great on week 1 against a really good team, probably not very realistic. And we've got to give it time. And I know nobody wants to hear that. Hey, it's our 9th straight loss. I blacked out the fact that we lost 8 straight last year. So, you want to win. We need to win bad. We need to win bad. We got a winnable one next week. Let's hope that we can pull it out. But there's no way you can argue that was a well-coached game.
Yep.
It just wasn't. But like I said, I think the real test comes next, right?
Yeah.
What do you do with what you learn this week? And what does that, how do you build off that week after week after week? I do think the team played hard. Maybe that's a weak point, but I do think they played hard. I think defensively you saw the guys going hard. It's just there were just, gaping holes. And I think you faced a quarterback that played an elite game today. Is he an elite quarterback? I don't know. But there were times where he was under pressure and he made plays. He made some great plays, and then there were also times where you have Emmanuel Forbes on press coverage against Chris Godwin, and all Chris Godwin does is blow on the dude, and he falls over, and then it's an automatic. And you can see. Fair. I watched on one of those plays. It was a 3rd down play. I watched Baker look at Forbes, and I said, ball's going there. Guaranteed. He looked at Forbes one-on-one against Godwin. He snapped the ball. He didn't look anywhere else. He just waited for Godwin to hit his break, and he hit him. And that's a great receiver. That's one of the best slot receivers of this last generation in Chris Godwin.
But Forbes, you're a first-round pick in your second year. And at some point, you got to start being able to play against the big boys. All of these guys, not just him. But anyways, I'm done on that. I'm done on that. If you have anything you want to add, go for it.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't want to talk anymore. I could talk about.
I think at a certain point we probably just start repeating ourselves. I mean, it's disappointing. I'm not surprised by the loss. I thought it would look a lot better. And but maybe that wasn't realistic either at this stage, right? And I think that, also I think it's good to get this first one out of the way. You'd like it to be better than it was, but I think you'll see a more confident Jaden Daniels. I mean, that first pass, we didn't even talk about that, but that was like a very nervous young man. We were texting. I said, man, he's just such a nice kid. And he probably wants to be good so bad. And, there's definitely nerves there. And so I think you won't see that next week. I think he took hits, more than we like to see him take, but he took hits. And I think that he's going to come in even more confident next week. And I think they'll learn some stuff. And it was good to see Brandon Coleman out there. I don't know how well any of the offensive line really played. It seemed pretty good in the run game.
71
hit or miss,
awful.
Hit or miss,
terrible.
Yeah. So there were definitely times where you got that jailbreak on the pass rush.
Yeah.
But I don't think we should be hitting the panic button. I just really don't.
Look,
it's not at the end of the day. It's I picked 9 and 8. You went 8 and 9. More practical. It's probably not about this year so much as it's about just improving, and they're going to continue to build and continue to add pieces to this roster. And hopefully, we got a bright future still to look forward to. There's no reason to, I think and question all the things we were so positive about. I mean, if you want to, that's your prerogative. I'm talking to the audience out there. But to me, I think we still got a really good coach. We still got a really GM. I still think it's a really good coaching staff. I just think that it's a combination of this roster still being under construction. You put that under construction sign if you were looking at this team, and I think it's also, there's a learning curve. There's a whole new group of players coming together, right? And there's a learning curve to that, and I think we saw that today.
Yeah, I'll give you 30 seconds of loser talk, and then we'll go around the league. I think you predicted 9 and 8. I predicted 8 and 9. Everybody thinks that's about it. Everybody gets their ass kicked from time to time. Well, not if we saw what we saw today. But even look, 8 and 9, 9 and 8 teams get their ass kicked from time to time. It's the NFL. Everybody gets their ass kicked. And unless you're the Kansas City Chiefs or the Baltimore Ravens or maybe the Buffalo Bills or the Eagles, I mean, even the Eagles, look at what happened last year, like the 49ers. Unless you're one of those just elite teams. I mean, Dallas will win 12 games every year and lose by 30 a couple times.
Well, I mean, how good do we think the Bengals were this year? And look at how they look today. I mean, they get blown out, but it looked pretty bad.
So I mean, if you want any more and any better,
they lost to the Patriots.
Yeah, with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback.
Yeah.
So if you want any better example of loser talk, you're not going to get much better loser talk than that right there. But it's going to happen when you think you're going to be a pretty mid team. These things are going to happen, and we are about to play a team that we know for sure. We know who they are, and we know they suck next week. So let's get after it. Let's get on to New York. Let's get on to Landover, Maryland. We got them at home. It's Jaden Daniels' home debut. Let's make it happen. You guys are going to get a whole pregame podcast on Thursday, breaking that down. Let's do 30 seconds around the league to wrap this thing up. I thought
it's going to be more than 30 seconds, so you can.
I thought the games on Thursday and Friday, I'm going to give you all my thoughts right up front. I thought the games on Thursday and Friday were both great. I am so thankful Jordan Love is okay and that it's not as bad as it looked, because that didn't look great.
It looked like a lot worse than the reports came out. That's for sure.
I said I didn't really buy the Philly Dallas fall off narrative. And
right.
It certainly doesn't look so happening right now. So just move on from that. The Giants,
as of week 1, I mean, I think Dallas and Philly looked really good.
Wagons both look like Super Bowl contenders, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think
really
if you
good.
had to pick the 4 or 5 best teams, both of them are in that 5. But anyways, that's where that's at. Great games this morning. All the games were close. The Tennessee game was close. The Bills game was close. Bills Cardinals was a lot of fun to watch there at the end. That was great. Bills made a great comeback there. Overall, a lot of fun. Good to be back NFL Sunday. I wish I didn't have to have this somber tone in my voice, and I wish we could have just won the game, or we could have lost, 27-24 or something like that. But get what you sign up for, I guess, as a Washington fan. And we're hoping those days are soon to be behind us, but they're certainly not behind us at this very moment. Pop,
hey, look,
your closing thoughts.
The boys on Team Mello got it done this week. That's what matters.
There it is. Yeah,
the fantasy boys, 9th out of 10 in the power rankings, came to play this week. They got coached up.
Yeah, Team Carlo put on an old school beat down this week. So whooping.
You keep saying that, but we're sitting on 66 points right now.
I still got Montgomery, Wilson.
Your defense showed up.
I still got 1, 2, 3, 4 players to go. I got Montgomery, Wilson, and Laporta.
Who you play next week? Who you play next week?
It's the showdown next week, baby.
Yeah. So look,
it's the showdown.
Don't forget, 2 pods a week. We got a pregame show coming up on Thursday. We're going to turn these vibes around. Thank you.
Yes,
we had a great week of views. So please keep it up. We really appreciate it for those of you checking in for the first time. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and keep it coming. That really puts wind in our sails when we see a week like that. So we really appreciate it.
And guys, you know the drill. If you've been with us this far, like, comment, subscribe. You've clearly had a good time. In the comment section down below, let us know what you're looking out for the Giants game, what you're thinking ahead of it. Let us know how you feel about how this last game went. Obviously, you don't feel pretty good, but how does it impact your view for the rest of the season? Guys, we will be back on Tuesday. We're not talking anymore Tampa Bay when we get back, all right? We're talking
on the Cincinnati
Giants. This team is on to Cincinnati, and you know what? The week after that, we're actually going to be on to Cincinnati. We've been saying it for 3 years now. We're actually going there. But let's wrap this thing up. Without further ado, I've been Dom.
This is Pop.
And thank you for a great week, everybody.